Hello everyone, it's Mary. Welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you're here. I hope you're staying warm wherever you are because it is freezing in Maryland, but we are making it work. The kids are out in the snow having a good time. All right, let's talk about these cards. I'm so excited to show you this. The first one that I'm going to dive into is one that just has captured my heart. I am so tickled pink with the way this card came out and very excited to show it to you. All right, I'm zipping. I'm already zipping. I'm zipping through. Okay, a couple things. Let's slow this down a little bit. First, I am going to show you this background here, but what I'm doing is putting some double-sided adhesive on it to make it flat because it was a little bit warped. That background, I wish I can tell you all the details on how to make it, but I made it in one of 𝐂𝐀𝐑𝐃's classes, I believe. And so that's just something that's been laying around and I absolutely love it. And I was encouraged by myself to pull it out and finally start using it, like a bunch of backgrounds that I have. So what I'm doing is taking the double-sided adhesive off. It's really strong stuff here. And I'm going to place it down onto my card base. And this is going to help it de-warpify just a little bit. Not 100%. I'm going to put something heavy on it later. But it definitely helps to do that. Now, I am pulling out my gnome set here, and I die cut using my nested Polaroid dies, 2 of those. So they're going to go on the background as well. That's what the background's sort of going to look like. The brick, I used a brick stencil with some embossing paste on the background and then put some color on top of it. That's the basics, but I don't show you that background in this class. Like I said, it was done in a class with 𝐶𝐂𝐃𝐑𝐃. Okay, so I'm stamping out my images here from this gnome set using VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. That is a waterproof ink, and I'm going to do some watercoloring, but I'm using Bristol Smooth cardstock, so it's not watercolor cardstock. This is my favorite cardstock to use when I'm using my real brush pens. These are the real brush pens from Arteza, and I am doing some very, very simple and light coloring. I usually go really heavy-handed with my colors when I use these markers, but I decided to keep it really light. Not only is it a different look that I'm going for, but it also makes the coloring that much faster. I think I only did one covering or one coat of these colors on most of these images. So I'm only going to color up 2 here. You certainly can skip this coloring part if it's not your thing. But if you're staying with me, let me talk to you a little bit about what I'm using. So Arteza real brush pens and then a blender pen from �〗. It's a pen you can buy individually. And because the parts of my image are so small, I'm going to use that blender pen instead of a water brush pen because I find that a water brush pen in those very tiny spaces kind of goops out the water too much, and then I'm just kind of left with a mess. So use a blender pen if you have one, and this one is great. It's a real brush pen as well. I love it, love it, love it. I think I bought 2 when I purchased them. I've had them for years, and I haven't had to replace them. So that's my first little gnome done, and then we're going to go in and do the second gnome. I think one of the things I do love about this card, I'll talk about at the end when I show you some of those finer details. The video and the camera just don't do it justice. The sparkle and the shine on the finishing card is so much fun, and I really am reminded of why handmade cards are so great because you get those added features on there that you wouldn't get from a store-bought card. So with the real brush pens, I did mention Bristol Smooth cardstock, so let me just go back to that and talk about it real quick. It is a cardstock that has a smooth surface. The ink does not soak in right away, so I can't use these pens or markers on regular cardstock, and I personally don't like them on watercolor, although I've seen people have some results with them. I can't get them to blend as well. I can watercolor with them if I scribble them on an acrylic block and then I paint them on, they work great, but to put them straight from pen or marker to watercolor cardstock, it just doesn't blend that well for me. But as you can see from here, I'm getting a beautiful blend. It's very, very simple to do. So I get those 2 colored up, and then I'm going to fussy cut them out. So I am just going to do that. Now, after I get them fussy cut, what I'm going to do, and you've probably seen me talk about this or in a past video, I'm going to go back in with my black marker. Now, my black marker is from Memento, and I'm going to hold it so that the image is face up. Don't turn it around, because if you do that and your marker slips, you're going to write on your image. If your marker slips here in this way, it'll just mark the back of it. All right, so that's a little pro tip there. So they're all colored up. Now, what I'm going to do is assemble where I want my little gnomes to sit first before I put everything down onto my background. My background is holding strong with this Barely Art glue, even though it is extremely textured. I put something heavy on it, highly recommend you do that, and leave it for a few minutes and put enough glue, not that it's going to seep out the sides or anything, but you definitely want to be generous with the glue because, again, very textured background, you want it to stay. So while that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to heat emboss my sentiment. Sentiment is from the same stamp set. So I'm first stamping it out with some sticky ink. Oh, before I do that, I use my little powder tool there. And I'm going to then stamp it in some sticky clear ink. Versamark is the one I'm using, but many, many brands make a sticky clear ink. Then I'm going to pour some white fine embossing powder over that, and I'm going to heat set it. I think this is probably one of my favorite ways to do heat embossing, just the white sentiment on the black cardstock. It just makes everything pop. And as you can see, I'm going to put some foam tape on that to make that sentiment pop up as well. So really strong foam tape there. It won't come off my textured background either. I'm going to finish off with some really pretty hearts that I had, sort of those clay hearts embellishment from my stash. And breaking news, everyone, I am putting a sentiment on the inside of my card. If you've been hanging out with me for any amount of time, you know I never, ever do this. This might actually be history in the making of my first recorded sentiment on the inside. Okay, maybe not, but I never do it. Now, let me show you the finishing touches I'm making for this first card. I am taking a glitter marker here, or glitter pen, rather. And I am covering all of the hearts, the big ones, so the balloons, the ones the guy on the top is holding, and on the hat. And that glitter marker, why do I keep calling it a marker? It's a pen. The glitter pen is so great. And it gives you such a sparkly look. And they're really tiny hearts, but as you move the card with the light, it's really, really cute. And then my favorite overlay for a clear liquid is the crystal glaze. I love the texture of it. I don't even have to it's so thin, it kind of falls into place. I don't have to fill it necessarily. It's just kind of, you just move the little nozzle around and it fills it up perfectly. So look at that. So fun and so cute. I hope you love that card as much as me. That's why I started off this video. The second card is so simple. I'm actually just going to show you an added tip for when you're using dies in your stash. So we'll get into that in a second. But yep, that will finish off card number 1. Again, sorry about the background. If I can find what class that background was in, I'll link it below for Tiffany. Now, take a die and a background that you want to use and run it through your die cutting machine. It could be really any shape that you want. You're going to do this on the background and you're going to do it on a piece of cardstock. So I chose white. I went back and forth between white and black, but I opted for white. And then you are going to be able to make your focal point sort of the die as well as the image, because the image that I cut out of there, I'm going to pop up. Now, truth be told, I didn't need to put this white piece back in to my inlay because the background's white, but I did anyway, so I just went with it. If I was using a black inlay die cut, this is the nested Polaroid, then it would have made more sense what I'm saying. Anyway, I'm going to place that right back in just like a puzzle piece, and I had already put the sentiment on there. And then I'm going to take a popped up piece of the actual background and lay it just where it was on top. And now you can see that your die is breaking up your image and making it more of like this popped out shadow focal point. So just a little pro tip there. Have some fun with your dies in your stash. That was a lot of fun to make. And I have a live of where I made that background. I'll link that below as well if you want to check out the watercoloring for that card. Well, that'll do it for me. Thank you so much for stopping by to hang out with me while I made these cards. Remember to do something for yourself. It is so important that you prioritize your own well-being, and if crafting is part of that, get in your craft room and have some fun and play. All right, I'll see you in the comments down below and in the next video. Bye-bye.